Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. Yes, that means you. You've got it. We are picking up and zooming in and focusing in on a couple of great viewer questions. And that is particularly one that I see quite common, which is why don't other family members or romantic partners get that this person is hurtful, damaging, destructive, narcissistic, psychopathic. They've betrayed you, they've gaslighted you, they've manipulated you, they've caused a degree of emotional hurt in your emotional body, and it's difficult for you to feel okay. And there's not even like again to feel again, to feel good again, to sort of return to. So a lot of people ask this because it's a question of perception and targeting. Realize that a narcissist will target specific people. And we're talking, we're not just talking about your run-of-the-way ambitious person or overachiever. We're talking about someone who truly has a lack of empathy, which means they have an inability to feel other people's feelings, respect, or sort of understand where they're coming from in order to sort of, I understand, in other words, there's something more than me going on here that needs attention, and then they can then sort of not put their life on pause, but just when you truly listen to someone, it can be about them. It doesn't always have to be about you. So, and that's a really important conditioning point when it comes to understanding why don't other people get it, and essentially like, why do I feel so alone, or why do I feel like I'm not sort of moving forward, or things don't feel okay, there's still something left undone, there's still something questionable, some justice, some moral justice hasn't been played out or served. So this feeling of imbalance, it's not fair, this shouldn't have happened, why me? So all these sort of rhetorical questions get going on in the gut, which can send people into a more easily vulnerable, manipulative position. So if you have an area where the narcissist or a psychopath, someone who has a pathological sense of self-importance, which means they really do not care what happens to others. They don't experience fear, trepidation. Oh, I should obey or comply with the rules. This is a stop sign. This is a public restaurant. We don't do that here. This is a place of business. We don't do that here. In other words, and so they then make, and so when you're really close, meaning in proximity or around these people a lot, and you're really sort of sucked in, you're like a glove. You fit like a glove with their manipulation. You feel like you know nothing else, or you're driven to do nothing else because you want to satisfy or resolve this sort of pang or excitement or whatever it is sort of that keeps you sort of moving forward and always feeling that you have to grab at something but aren't getting something in return. So there's this empty feeling, which is very uncomfortable. So people usually try to repress that. In other words, don't get their feelings spoken of what they truly need, so they feel that they can be on, in communication or resonance with someone. These people are very difficult to resonate with, but they want to keep everything like a puppet show. In other words, they want to keep so-and-so dancing over here. They want to keep someone sort of feeling this sort of experience, or sort of what they have coaxed them or conditioned or manipulated them to be in their own play. It's as if you're picking up a playbook and you're not even playing yourself in this. I'm playing girl number 3, which has a pit in their stomach, which feels uncomfortable. Or I'm guy who fell for a romantic person and got tied and tied again and strung along, and you don't even have a name, a face, an identity, and you feel a sort of sense of desperation and sort of fear. And there's a very specific pronounced type of fear, which is really an abandonment. So it's really like a projection of their own insecurities, kind of like a sweeping away of their own emotional dirt. Here you go. This is what that feels like. Why don't you please feel it, play it out in your life, and manifest it, so in other words, the pathology, don't have to deal with those uncomfortable feelings. We're talking about the narcissist, who particularly loves to play they really want to be the one who's dressing the characters on the stage. Literally, do you remember back in the day, like when you would see a puppet show at like a fair or your school, and there'd be kids behind with a puppet, or maybe you made one yourself, and it would talk, you would make it do whatever you wanted. That's literally, and that's not an exaggeration, that is literally what the psychopath, how they are with people, what is required. They can be very draining because they are projecting in a very targeted way. So if someone is particularly empathetic, really does not like to see people hurt, is not violent, does not like people screaming. I mean, some people can tune it out, but then there's other people, male and female alike, who have a real, something needs to be resolved here. This person's hurting, this person is yelling, this person doesn't have their needs met, this person is crying out for help or attention, or they're just trying to get laughs, they're trying to get this, they're trying to get. I mean, notice that there's always on the get versus being sort of a neutral person, a good old-fashioned human being. These are the people who have to, be in the car with, showing you how much digital stuff that they can do, and they're like not even driving, and you're like, I'm afraid, but they're not. See, they're having a great time. They're controlling the traffic, they're controlling you, they're controlling the device. And so realize that each person has their own personality, in other words. And so other people in the family will not be targeted or talked to or disrespected at the same time. In other words, because they need to keep these props, this sort of Game of Thrones, this sort of stage. They always want to sort of set the stage. Okay, Q, guy 3, we're ready to go out for a steak. Q girl, we're ready for a walk in the park, and we're going to go by the bench. Now I'm going to act like the Harley person. Now I'm going to act like, and they have like all these different sort of like personality, but they will really sort of metamorphosize and be able to live this kind of life energetically to where the point where most other people couldn't stomach living like that. Like, in other words, they couldn't stomach like lying as much as they do. They couldn't stomach sort of putting on a poker face to someone and talking about them behind their back, and always sort of trying to corner them to get in trouble, foul up, trip up, just sort of push your buttons, give you a look, get up a group of people and then give you a look, so that they know that they're backed up. See, they think ahead of time. They have an insatiable need for power and control. So insatiable means it doesn't ever get satisfied. So they're like consumers, of people. A psychopath will tell you, like, I need people. They consume, they relate to people in a whole different way. They're trying to get something. They're trying to move. It's like a chess game, but there's no other opponent. They're always trying to move the pieces, and others like a pawn. And then so it's always looking as if they're trying to control other people's perceptions all the time. Most people can't live like that. So when other people, because they need supply, they need people who will chuckle when you say chuckle, who will say, go make me dinner when they say make me dinner, or we're not going to get together. I'm going to diss you for a couple weeks and I'm going to go do whatever because I got to go, take a chill pill or whatever it is that they say that they need, that they're strung out on you, or they might sort of, blame you, or this relationship. They don't take any responsibility or accountability for sort of how they could have committed woes or hurt somebody. They're not going to ever admit it. So you can see a lot of people in the news and such who will always get their way, and they don't matter to them if they have to lie through their teeth, if they have to bully, push, scream louder, put up more fear, whatever they say, the world, everything is under their control. These people who seem to be what you would say too charismatic, and then they're too good to ever be questioned. In other words, I've been here for you, and I have, this is where I'm at. I've laid other things aside for you when you were sick, or my needs. I, sort of put you first as a way to honor you, like as a romantic partner or a family member. Particularly a narcissist will have some need or woe that they will always sort of clamor to get your attention of. So, and they'll know who to break down in front of. They'll know what numbers to spit out in the conversation. They'll know what little emotional baby bombs to drop on you, so people go, oh no, not your car. Oh no, not your this. Oh no, not your job. And then everyone, they're used to like sort of training people, if you will, to a specific, and they it's for a desired outcome. So this is how they utilize people. So it's very, and why do other people get the real sock? Why do they get the Louisville Slugger to the neck? Why do they get hit so hard? Well, a lot of it is the degree to which you were open, and when you were young or impressionable. I mean, you're literally like a sponge. So if you understand a sponge, it has, open insides, and it basically will just absorb everything into it. So that's literally what the emotional body is like. When the floodgates are open, oh man, if they're raining, it's pouring, you're going to get a tsunami of emotional guilt, baggage, treats, joy, special events, even better, which seems to be like what you always wanted, paired with discovering that they, have another sort of agenda on the side, whether it be business, romantic, familial. They just sort of will disrespect the people, but still, in other words, they look down on all of their supply, which is the strange thing. They're like, you guys are all so stupid. This is in their subconscious. This is in their emotional body. So it's kind of like, if you can think of your emotional body, and another viewer had asked about the emotional body. So it's how you truly feel, how your energy, if you were to sort of stop labeling things and sort of just get with your real pure energy. Your emotional body might have a lot of areas that were like a sponge that have been corrupted, corroded, hurt. You took in emotional negativity. You didn't have any emotional armor yet. You didn't know how to not accept or not listen and absorb, and have instilled into you some negative emotional body that is within sort of the offending party, if you will. So that's what makes these relationships so combative. They're argumentative, and when there doesn't need to be. So it's all a control feature. And if they feel that they're losing their grit and glamour, and they don't look so good, i.e. human, and they can't, they're having a bad hair day, their emotions are finally catching up with them, and they're no longer the charades that they're, they got to redo themselves, and they're mistreating people, acting like they're in a funk, need a break or whatever, and yet you've been there and done that for them, but there's no flexibility in return. So why don't they see the early warning signs? Because not everybody wants to. A lot of people, it's kind of like they can hang their hat up and their coat up for a minute when the narcissist comes in. Oh boy, I don't have to think about my life, my needs, my challenges, or the areas that I want to improve, because this person demands all of my attention and all of everybody's attention. These are the people who sort of, just it's all eyes on them. It's always going to be that direction. It's kind of like how they rule. It's just their rule. But the problem then is that there's a sort of rule for oneself that becomes simultaneously ingested in that negativity. So once again, the narcissists, they want to sort of expunge or project a lot of their own fears and insecurities, if we can keep it really clear. So a narcissist, they can be very superficial or shallow, meaning they always want to look as the one who steals the show, who's got the bigger news. Hey, guess what? I just got a promotion. Oh, so-and-so just had you're talking about so-and-so had a surgery, and, how their health, and then they're sort of like, or like that's the vibe, or maybe that's why you're getting together, is to like help this person, and they have to come in their mind, save us from all this grief and normal human feeling, which is working through things. Let me just come in and save the day with a joke, my sarcasm. They sort of command attention no matter what. And a lot of people, unfortunately, get instilled with the value that they can drop their own stuff for a minute while they just sort of take on this person, but they don't realize that they're in that inner exchange. You're getting further and further from being able to tune into self as a habit, your emotional body, what you need to say without fear of retaliation, or that you're going to get hit or left or abandoned, because usually you end up, like children. I mean, you can read Dr. John Bradshaw, Homecoming, Toxic Shame That Binds You. A lot of his work is in this area of shame. And so it becomes there's all these different gradients of the emotions, of the negative emotions. So shame being really, that's what hits you really down deep and can fill your entire being with sort of a flood of neurochemicals, which can be paralyzing. You get analysis paralysis. You can't stop, and part of it is getting sort of numbed out. So your inner sense of self is then defined by their negativity as a result, rather than it being, strengthened and coming from within and being reinforced by others who say, oh yeah, when someone does that to you on the playground or a restaurant, you just say, excuse me, that's mine, and you pick up, when someone's trying to take your things, or when you're dealing with jealousy or other sort of, how are we going to work this out? I can't believe you just got this car, and I thought we were going to get engaged, and now you've got a $500 a month. They do these things which can be shocking, and yet, they don't sort of, there's a discord, meaning it's not matching up. And then in you, the individual who's closest, who's targeted, is then living out this cognitive dissonance. It's very close and akin to what that narcissist is projecting out. That is their defense mechanism. That is a defense mechanism is a protective mechanism that you do. So you don't want to oh, you're a kid. You broke the glass. You were throwing the football, or, your mom comes in. Did you break the glass? No. I don't know what happened, and you don't want to take the blame, so, there's different, so, and if that's shame, and then wanting to lie. And so that's kind of like what the narcissist does, is they have a false persona, which means the life that, who they present out in social media, Instagram. That is not the life the person, and they're hoping that you buy in for whatever reason. So there's something that the narcissist has their needs satisfied to be. A narcissist will say, well, people are a buffer to me. But it's like they're not the same in return. They're not there for people in the same way that you have been there for them. It's an intangible. And so they don't want to get involved. A lot of people who who get really hurt by the narcissist are, once again, like in Dr. Bradshaw's work, and he talks about intoxic shame and healing the shame that binds you, which is a great title. You should be ashamed of yourself. You are, and that's very disempowering. It's giving a negative validation to the eternal permanency of the self. So they sort of speak with this sort of permanency, which has nothing to do with reality or the truth. But they, for their defense mechanism, their tool, they for some reason like to control people's reality sort of that way. And then they'll, oh, but you're not as exciting. You're too predictable. Oh, this is bland, or we've already done this, and they'll seem disappointed in you when it's just, it involves two people. Hey, what are we gonna do with this extra free time? Are we gonna fix, and paint the garage? Or are we gonna go for a walk? Are we gonna go for a drive? So they don't really like to come level. That part of their disorder is that they don't feel comfortable sort of being sort of equal with people, especially those people who they tend to use people and sort of use that. And so, and they always sort of want people there to come back to. It's kind of like they've pooped on you, they want to cover it up and then sniff their way back when something occurs, and they're like, yeah, remember me, how fun we had that one. And they're going to sort of try to get you to remember by manipulation. Oh, remember, wasn't that bad when you used to cook me dinner all the time and drive me to work? Remember how much fun we had, and you would do this and this for me? They're like, yeah, turning their back. Can you please scratch my back now? I mean, they're looking for more of the good that you gave them. So you have to realize you are too precious and too important to be sort of caught up in their manipulation of your reality. People, especially if it was early in their life, people oftentimes don't even feel that sort of inner right to their own reality as a cessation from fear. They've never been there before. They haven't been allowed. They haven't been able to work through it or been around people that could help them work through it. Instead, if you've got and the telltale is the damage, and so they will target specific people who have an abundance of that which they lack. So for example, and you're like you represent this in their mind, where they go, oh my gosh, you represent the child in me that never got listened, that I'm uncomfortable getting to know. So like, let's say your romantic partner is afraid of commitment, or they're afraid of having one person. They always want to have their options open. Well, that's not very fair, especially if you're giving them all the back rubs, cooking them the dinner, helping them with their work, doing all these things, which people get a value from contributing. A lot of people who are givers, they'll get that endorphin high, I think, from like helping them and being like, oh, but that's only like a part of what you should be taking from the relationship. You should be able to be receiving. And it can feel very isolating and alone, meaning empty. You're dropped off, to yourself. I left high and dry, and really, what happens is your sort of metaphor. This is my hypothesis, basically, that through the projection, when you're in a relationship with this type of person, they will project the very inefficacy that you have, particularly if you represent to them a strength or abundance of that which is lacking. So if you're super committed, you could be a homebody, you could be a travel body, you could be a Gumby bear, you could be Hercules, you could be Twinkle Toes. For you could be anything for this person. Basically, you love this person, and I'm so, oh gosh, my train of thought. Okay, right there. So as I'm saying, yes. So in other words, so for example, if you have someone who, you are attracted to, or is in your family, or is in your workplace, and if that person has like a background of in their own family that they feel insecure about, but they cover up, for example, if they have divorce, if they have poverty, if they have a single parent home, if they had an abundance of money or something, all these different things. So, but if there's something, if part of them is coming from a broken area, generally there is something broken and in the physical world, but then breaks them in the emotional world, their emotional body. And this is very painful because I think they feel very alone, and resourceless, like I'm not able to get myself out of this feeling. So where most people have to say, hey, guess what? I have to be self-directed. I am in control of my happiness, and I am able to control the quality of people then around me, particularly the quality of destructive versus supportive, like if you can look on a spectrum. So, but what ends up happening is when we say, like, what is the damage that's done? Oftentimes there's, yes, there is emotional damage that can be done to the other people. Particularly, you'll understand that I feel it really centers around particular areas that are broken within them that you represent an abundance of. So let's say in their family, no one ever listened. They might have had alcoholism, a lot of money, they buy their way out of everything, or they throw their weight around. They might be super good looking or have a really big time job that gives them, the authority to just sort of rename the rules that everyone else has to live by. And the rules when they control others is, you must understand that you are disappointing to me. So it's just, they will oftentimes have a negative message which is really hurtful. That really Louisville Slugger emotional bat to the gut, which is like, and they might assign it to what you feel or how they project it as something permanent about you, which you can never change about you, that you then should be in misery for the fact that you are, and then X, what they're going to put in, too needy, i.e. narc word salad, you're committed, you're their family member, you're their colleague, so what they call sometimes is flip the negative, means you're committed to them, you're in love with them, and then they say, you're too needy, you're weak, and they just want you to give them the good stuff, and then will complain about you. And see, because they can't own the fact that they're not ready or unable to show that they have a weakness, that they can't commit, that this makes them uncomfortable, it makes them look inadequate or inefficient, or that they don't have it all together. This is the number one situation that a narcissist does not like to have, like a crack in the mask. Well, guess what? Like a crack in your fry boots, you're going to take your boots out and you're going to wear them, and they're going to start to form around your foot. They're going to get worn in. Their mask eventually will crack, and this is when they really start to devalue and discard others. But some they treat very negatively, which is very sad, right off the bat. And then because of that explosive and then implosive negative message, it is then allowed to grow within the emotional body, your actual physical body itself. I am not. And then followed by some permanency that's unattractive about you, which leads to shame, hiding, isolation, feeling alone, Why doesn't anybody see this? Because a lot of other people, they are either they're not as involved, or to admit, would be to confront and possibly get the emotional whiplash from this person. They're like, no, thank you. I see the S hitting the fan. I'm going to go that way. Thank you very much. They're going to blow up. I'm going over to the classical symphony, and I'm going to put on some headphones, and I'm going to listen to some chill music. You guys can do whatever. So they're very aloof, and they don't, there's a lot of complexities, which is why it's good to have all these questions and have these discussions. So particularly what's very intrinsically damaging then is then with that relationship, which you have to understand, why does it hurt? So it hurts. This is painful. And then you're trying to put like that there's a struggle, and this is not sustainable. In other words, unpleasant. Something, there's a pressure building up. And that is because, they will have you to work through, to their convenience, work through all their pangs and insecurities so that they don't have to. So you do not have to work through someone else's emotional problems for them as a way to show love and respect. You can detach, and that might break your heart, because that's maybe how you're used to relating to people, is on that sort of knee-jerk, let me put a hand to your wound, and then I'm real because you're hurting. And then people then surround themselves with more hurting people because they're the same energetic place. They're in the same perspective. They're operating out of those same negative beliefs, which might have been played in your environment decades ago and are still on volume 99, or at least, on a quiet mumble all through the day. And it's important to recognize, look at, and put it in its place so it doesn't continue to eat at you, give you this gnarly feeling that you're just, that's part of their problem, is that they have this insatiable need. And then isn't it interesting that you now are experiencing something that is insatiable that you can't, quench. So I really feel they're imprinting, almost like if they have a pattern, they're imprinting their emotional signature on your energetic, and then you end up taking it in and sort of living out that as it replays, because it's taken on so deep. There weren't any defense mechanisms or sort of a strong boundary that you were able to erect, not alone by yourself, but with also the validation of other people. Yes, this is okay, rather than having it annihilated and having none. Because the narcissist, they help themselves to everyone else's emotions, rules, values, and they just sort of will annihilate boundaries, meaning go against really what is comfortable for you, like your personal space, and then rather than keeping you trapped in or left out or not feeling that you don't have any and feel unsafe, I would say it's a very close, and it might make sense to you in your own personal experience. In other words, those feelings, if you could, and so if you can really get them out rather than them being bottled up, is really important. And even though you can even write it out, and that's why I think it's important to ask these questions. If I can ask you right now, if I had stronger emotional boundaries, my conversations would really feel like. So if I had stronger emotional boundaries and standards, what would my conversations and relationships feel like? And you can write 1 through 20, 1 through 10. Would they feel better? Would they feel easier? Would they feel more mature? Would they feel more appropriate? Would they feel better? I mean, any word, just asking you this hypothetical question will open you up to a new understanding or a new perspective. It's like going to a football game and you've only been able to afford, like, I don't know, you couldn't even afford to go. You were lucky even if you got the tailgate. But let's say you got, tickets to a game and you were way up in the top row, like the 100th row, and the players down below you could barely see, and then let's say, someone grabbed you, we're going to give you, courtside tickets, and took you right down to see the game, or you would have a much different perspective. You'd see, how the people are playing. You'd see how they're communicating, and you'd get, more involved. So that it's a change of perspective. So the change of perspective is to change how you're changing how you see them differently. You've got a new ticket. Hey, I'm going to give you courtside seats, okay? These are the good ones, and you can have a better perspective, on what your boundaries should look and feel like, and then what they are like. And so, how have they violated things, and how can you sort of assign certain very emotionally neutral or softened understanding, so you're able to say, yes, I did receive this negativity about this and I didn't understand. In other words, now that you have a courtside seat, in other words, you can, and let's just say then you saw the narcissist and they were just up in the other seat, and they were, and they were, having a tantrum or something. And then you saw how if things changed, it would be a different outlook, where you'd have the great seats, in other words, you're changing your perspective on you and how you look at yourself. You've got these great upside seats. Man, look how good I work. Man, look how much I care. Look how healthy I feel. Look how many choices I have. Like getting a fresh perspective on yourself and getting a fresh perspective on this individual or assortment of individuals. Because that's the power of the human brain. You literally have power to be and understand and learn. And to do this where you don't feel fearful, inappropriate, not proper, ill-fitted, or like it's wrong. So it's a way to come back into an understanding of sort of a remedial of what you have been given, and then see now as a gift, a change in perspective. Why a change of perspective on the narcissist? Other people, don't get fatigued by it. You might have gotten caught really deep in this because of your personality type, how much you gave into them, how much you were around them, and the fact that maybe no one else was there to say, hey, let's go over here. Let's get a better team of players. Let's surround you with some different situations, vibes, emotions, less yelling, less focus on all these other things that don't have anything to do that's meaningful. Like they're always focusing on the fact that they are this and this or have this and this, and that you don't. So they always sort of juggle these comparisons, and it's very important to be able to free yourself and let that go, because that is kind of by default, oftentimes by default, meaning like a default feeling that was just sort of a backup, meaning that you're left with this feeling and not able to resolve it or come to closure, which means that's how the narcissist feels. And oftentimes that feeling of, if you could write it down, the most, and oftentimes people don't even want to look at it. What is the yuckiest feeling that I feel? Alone, unloved, ugly, out of proportion, scarred for life, maimed, all you. And so what you believe about yourself then as a result of this relationship, that's going to predict your future. That is going to predict your day. That is what's going to drive your car. That's what's going to pick up your mail. Okay, all that negative undergirding is still going to be there until you say, you know what, I'm okay enough. You have to realize that there has to be a change of perspective on yourself. and getting rid of all that scum or negativity, the looks, all the aggressions or whatever it is that you have stored back in there, and then get the perspective back on the narcissist. Let's say they're now up in the bleachers, instead of just accepting it and watching the game from there and dealing with it like everybody. They're screaming, they're throwing a tantrum, they're freaking out, and they're like, most other people are like, why is that guy freaking out? Oh, he hates his seats, he can't stand this, the perpetual complainer. And other people are like, okay, why are you so special? And so people are used to then really nurturing these other people's negative issues. And we're talking big. We're talking 80-pound gallon garbage bag full, heavy, tough to carry around until you get a breaking point and you fatigue out and you go, I am literally carrying, and this is again your emotional body. And your emotional body then is directed by, oftentimes then, is then fed or neglected or has a deficit based on what is received directly from significant people, persons, even like teachers, whatever, the religion, your siblings, however it was reinforced. This can be in other words, it's their easy way out, and they're making things harder for you. So that it's okay to say that kind of lifestyle, no go. I'm gonna say no go to more suffering. If you can make like one vote and kind of start there. I vote for no suffering for myself. I vote for happiness. I vote for joy. I vote for enjoying the simple things that the day is going to give me or the night is going to give me. The wind, the feel of the sun, the smell of the flowers, the sound of the trees, the feel of the grass, the sound of the birds. How many things can you find, rather than feeling that emptiness and aloneness and that you're separate from everyone, get a new perspective on yourself. I am okay. I am lovable. I am cute. I will give myself a button. I will, I am hospitable. I am a good communicator. I am a good partner. I am commitment material. I am worthy. And then begin to see where you have some value about yourself that they sort of negated, wore down like an emery board, or like a grinder. They put you through the emotional grinder to the point where you don't have any left. That is self-esteem, confidence, chutzpah, head on your shoulders. Usually there's still some pain. And so you have to get to the point where then you get into the area of free will, because oftentimes the free will is then stunted, stifled, suffocated, buried, not acknowledged and validated. So when we talk about getting a new perspective, it's like seeing yourself from the outside in a little bit, meaning having some forgiveness and mercy on yourself, and realize, give yourself literally a pat on the back for what you've been through. I mean, kudos to you for questioning all this and getting to the freedom zone where, you can feel far, your boundaries are 8 feet of steel between you and the damaging party, and the fact that you've got your eyes open. You're no longer ascribed a role, a name in someone else's play. You're not playing guy number 3 anymore. You're not playing waitress number 4. You're not playing masseuse on Thursdays. You're not playing gardener on the weekends, and I do your lawn and help out with this and then get disrespected. You need to get free will, because they will rob you of that. And then people then are not used to then living out from empowerment, free will. Like there's something more to life where you realize that there's a becoming that is going to be manifest from your vision of what you've always wanted. And it's sort of, but the problem though is you have to sort of reclaim, go on like an ancient mission and reclaim the good of yourself. How long is this going to take, Peace and Harmony? I don't know. It might take some time, meaning, during a day, for several days, for several weeks, and then some, because you will then reap the rewards for coming to a new truth, and that is eternal, that, in other words, that can't be stomped out. And you have to claim this. You're going to have to claim your, just what, even, you don't even have to claim, it's just your power and your free will. And when you say that, vote for this guy, that guy, this party, let's talk about you. Would you like to vote, to be, pain-free, guilt-free, shame-free? Is that the perspective? To be liberated for good, to know better, to have, my guardian angels on my back. What is, or the guardian angels or the God dwelling within me. And, and realizing what these stronger feelings are about. But you have to sort of get that free will sort of rocking and rolling. You got to get it dusted off. So let's come back to what we're going to look at for you and your perspective. So getting a perspective on yourself. Oftentimes what I find, a lot of our viewers, they have such a negative, downcast view of themselves because what they've taken in, and they haven't been able to control the floodwaters. It's like there's no dike built. There's no way to, have an emotional boundary. In other words, it was so violated and trampled that it couldn't be erected, or you don't have the perspective to know what the boundary is, and to say, and what is your feeling? What are your tools now? And this is everybody. Okay, so this, your tools, these are your tools, your perspective on self is so crucial. Again, in this book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, Dr. Shad Helmstetter, on page 69, since whatever you believe about yourself will end up affecting what you do, you can be sure that if you believe that you are not as socially successful as you would like to be, your belief about yourself will turn out to be correct, whether it was true or not. Whatever you believe about yourself will end up affecting you. Okay? So now, oh boy, Peace and Harmony. You just went from football game to talking about belief and self-belief. Oh boy. Well, we're not quitting now. I guess we're going to try to go for an hour. Is that what people like? So what you believe about yourself, if you, had that emotional tsunami where it right on your day one of your composition book, I am stupid, I am late, I am a dodo, I am a loser, I am a waste product, I am non-talented. And, so if you have to realize that, either at different stages on your life, you can understand that there are certain looks that might have affected and tuned your emotional body. That means how you feel. Because in studying psychology and understanding, but not really understanding, that human beings, including yourself, have a subconscious mind which moves before you do. In other words, it says if you believe that you can start a exercise, it's the one that goes and pricks up the gym shoes and just goes right on walking. If you believe that this is beneficial to you, then your body will do it. Your behavior will change. But if you believe, oh no, I'm going to run into this, I'm going to run into that, I'm going to be late, it's not going to do anything, I don't need it, then you're speaking this, and you're disempowering. You're setting yourself up for failure. This goes along with another psychological or psychology term called self-prophecy. So in other words, what you believe about yourself will be true. And let's also talk about what we believe about others. So we need to heal, need to get the perspective of feeling better about the self in that emotional body and then how it manifests from within, because it's stored literally in the body. Like if you could go to the Library of Congress, you know, all that's ever written is there. Like your body, your subconscious knows the little leaves that it's walked by on a walk. It remembers those little red and yellow leaves. I mean, it remembers the waves that you saw. It remembers the beautiful tree. It remembers the birds or the bird, you know. So you have all these images that are stored in there. And eventually that will composite into a belief, which is kind of like, when you talk about I believe, it's kind of like when everything is in alignment. It's your self-esteem, it's your past, it's your, you know, you're working through your feelings so that you feel confident, you feel safe, you feel self-directed, self-navigating. You can do what is required. You're not worried about trying to handle someone else's feelings for them, worried about their look, what they're doing. You're able to be and concentrate on your own self, and then you attract other people who are the same. So do I have water? I did not bring my water. Sorry about that. Part of healing also is staying really hydrated. So I'm trying to bring a lot of water. I've got some allergies right now. But in terms of like springing up and springing forth and sort of springing up into an energetic state versus a decompressed or collapsed state, emotional state, an emotional body, is getting that front row seat on yourself and going, man, that narcissist, they were up over there. They were having a tantrum. I always thought they were making a tantrum about me, you know, and you know, and so then people, you know, sort of take ownership over trying to resolve another person's feelings, and you might have gotten sort of scooped up in that if you didn't have the boundaries, which means a healthy perspective on yourself, which means I don't want to neglect the fact that I need to live in truth, versus a fantasy where basically any fantasy is where people are constantly lying, living, you know, sort of recklessly, dangerously, to risk, the psychopath, engaging in high risk behaviors. I mean, you know, this can be difficult. And you might feel that you lost, you know, you're lost alone, or you lost your life. It comes, I believe, from losing a perspective of the healthy sense of yourself. Not as it involves them. But so many people can't claim, you know, that sort of empowerment and a healthy perspective on yourself and on the game of life, versus the narcissist who, if you know, is up in the bleachers tantrum, and you thought, you know, that it was all your fault, and you were trying to calm them down or be a support or be whatever. Chances are you had a lot of good intentions. You know, and then, but you can say, now it's okay for me to have a healthy perspective of self. I don't want to neglect my health. I want to take care of my health. That is my right. I do have the right to peace and safety. And so if this is constantly being threatened, or I'm being depleted, or feeling empty or too alone as a result, it's because that there's something wrong energetically, and I don't vote for that experience. So you have to liberate your free will. You can even write it down. You know, I vote for my happiness. I vote for my security. I vote for my serenity. I vote for my empowerment. I vote for my new, you know, my better self, and being happy and attracting new and better quality people. Just like there's qualities of bread, some bread is really flavorless, but other bread is just amazing. You know, is it quality? How it's baked? How is it treated? How, you know, what is the recipe? What is any seasoning? Is it warm? What is the temperature? So you can kind of say, you know what? I need a new piece of bread, man. Like this type of life before is just not working out. Like you have to realize that I need to get some better players on my team. If you're, you know, now and then being with choice, being part of empowered is having a choice and saying, I want you on my team and around me. I'll support you. You'll support me. But I don't want that on my team because I'm just, as I've had perspective, that it's damaging, dangerous, risky, is combative, aggressive, is not a good influence. All these things, it doesn't mean that you have to then, because of that, say, I lost my life. You know, you're still talking then in self-defeatist behavior. So we need to sort of get that self-defeating feeling or habit. I mean, out of the emotional, out of the situation. You know, feeling too desperate. You know, you're driving, texting, you're trying to eat on the run. You know, stop. Becoming empowered, sometimes it's not just doing new things, it's stopping certain things. So you're no longer getting yourself tied up, wrapped up, in a snag, in a bind. You know, you're not sort of then worried, oh wow, am I not doing something super fun? You know, they might always have these requirements that they're always, and then you're not, because, you know, you're not always trying to go out every night, or you've got other things to focus on, like you're trying to still study for your job or get ready for a family or doing something important, and they're trying to interrupt your schedule, and they want you to sort of always be there for them and that kind of thing. So getting choice back, and how to develop new self-soothing memories for you on the day-to-day. Meaning, what things can you turn to as a source of comfort that will comfort you from the body, from the inside out. I mean, I recommend Epsom bath. Get some bubbles, guys and girls, you know, soak the body. Take a couple aspirin or ibuprofen, or, you know, if you're really off, talk to your primary care doctor. You know, get your dental appointments together for yourself. Get your annual physical done. Get your blood work done. Know where you're at. And do some proactive, positive things. Not as it would be to impress the narcissist or fill in some hole in their life, but just you don't even, just go ahead and do it. So, in other words, helping the body to relax, giving the body new memories, creating these memories, bringing a candle to your own dinner. Who cares if it's a ham sandwich? Candle is beautiful. Add a candle. Even those fake ones that you can get on Amazon, to keep a little, or get a little night light, get some softer lighting. Do, you know, with your bath, you can bring in your laptop, or, you know, play it from wherever, put it on the sink and watch a show, or put on some new music. Create new sentient feelings for yourself, new physical feel-good things. So kind of, you know, you've got your five senses, and namely touch, you know, and become aware now of the touch of things. Could this towel go? Is this towel of no good quality? Let me get a better quality. You know, let me look at the sheets. Let me look at the clothing. Let me look at what's around in my environment. And let me just get rid of any clutter that sort of keeps that heaviness attached, that's really weighing too heavy, and let me clear it out. And I mean, like, in giving yourself, you know, new memories so that you can feel, you know, how you want to feel. Add new scents, you know, look at some of, you know, not that you perfume yourself, but for your own uplifting. I know I talk about this, and I really believe in helping your body. You have to do proactive things to feel good. So, getting your checkup. I talk so much about I've talked, about the six and seven senses. So, and most important, start with one and really emphasize it. Like if it's the power of touch, do things that feel good. Do the bath, do a loofah. This is like a really hard one, and this you use on, you put it and wear it like a mitt, and you can scrub your body, and it will get rid of all the excess skin cells, and it will help you to feel more alive. There's ones, that you can do that do your back. There's a fine grade one that you can do for your face. This brand is called Dermasur. It's perfect. It lasts a long time, but it gets off all the slough. And as you get off the physical slough, you get off the emotional slough. You get off the you get all that, and you're giving to yourself without verbalization. So like nonverbal giving to self is a real healing thing. And to get new perspective, because the perspective of hurt that you took, an honorable job that you did at that, but it's okay to say, role completed, certificate now, boom, done, yep, scene cut, girl number 3 feeling better now, new scene, guy number 4 who was the whatever, the cook or who did all the gardening, he's, watching, how to grow, or, use different kinds of wood, and he's out, at a lumber yard checking out different kind of woods for himself, and he's got himself a new job, selling these cutting boards or personalized cutting boards or other. There's so many things that you can do without needing that negative validation, because the negative always is going to want to work itself out, and for some reason it tends to assign and want to work itself out with the source of the pain, in your perspective. But you've got to say, I don't want that ticket, I'm going to rip it up, and I want to get the perspective right down I want to get the better seats now. It costs a lot, but you've paid enough. You've paid enough, right? You've paid your dues. You're no longer dancing to a drum of fear. You're dancing, you're swaying to a drum of soothing. You're swishing, you're cruising around, you're suave around your kitchen, you're just moving and grooving. It doesn't have to be for any reason. And so then you won't feel this like, I'm alone, I'm the only one. And so begin to get a better perspective on that. I recommend that, in like changing up some things, like getting a lotion, something different, like maybe then after that, what other can you do? Like I always recommend, these are the Aveda products. I always love this. Not that my hair looks great, but this is called Pure Abundance Hair Potion by Aveda. Is super cool. And then Shampure is another really cool one. You can put it in there. I don't know. This is all natural ingredients. And it does, it's something, it is something that I do. It is something that is important because it puts one into a mindful state, where some of the other stuff might not, befit your mood. You want it to be more calm. You want it to be more poised. You want it to be more calm and centered and focused and self-directed, rather than being just, sort of swept up into some sort of negativity which you don't want to play a part in. If you want to play a part in negativity, vote yourself in. You might as well schedule some suffering time. Don't do that to yourself. Get some free will. And today is the day for, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop, and then write 1 through 10. I'm going to stop, and I'm going to start. And really change your behavior on it, and do it like now, or do it like relatively soon. Like the minute you make up, a really important thing I think for lasting change is when you make that discovery and you go, yep, you know, pain-free sounds good to me. And then what do you do right now that helps to liberate and loosen up some of that pain? What do you know, am I going to go for a bike ride because I haven't done that? Am I going to go for a horse ride? Am I going to go for a taxi ride? What am I going to do? You know, and so, but like comforting all of your senses and focusing on them, like especially your feeling. Get one of those callus. I don't have it here. But you can also like take all the stuff off of your feet, like it gives you like a foot massage. You can take those pumice. You get like a pumice on the handle, and you can do that, and it helps to stimulate your blood flow in your feet. I don't have it right now. I'm not going to go grab one. I don't have one close to hand, but they have like an emery board that's about this thick and about like that around, or no, I'm sorry, a pumice stone. So that's a natural stone that you can use, and then you just sort of massage your feet on the bottom, in the balls, on the heel, and around, and even on the tips of the toes. And then you can like put lotion on, put some sort of, you know, natural oil or something healing, and just do yourself up right. You deserve it. And, you know, and get in those scents, you know, get in those sensations, change the fabric of your clothing, your bedding, your kitchen, where you are in your car. I mean, you know, reupholster something. Do something that makes you feel more comfortable, especially to the touch. You know, change up the chairs in the kitchen, change up the chairs at your desk, rearrange your furniture so it's facing somewhere different. You know, make these little changes and then sit in and enjoy it. And really stimulate all the senses, include, you know, the sight, and meaning like focusing on really feeding your mind with good images, and knowing that you're not alone and that you're not isolated. So begin to also, once you do that, you can envision and then write down something that you want to do. I mean, and literally concretely put one foot in front of the other. If it's read or own more books, then go to your bookstore, go to the library, go to a book sale. Excuse me. I should bring water to our sessions. And really just make the most of it. But number one, do it consistently. Do it again and again so it becomes part of your living being, and you'll feel so much better and more connected. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe. And for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Have a beautiful day. Be you and feel you amazing.